Hey, welcome back everybody. So this week we're actually going to be finishing up the hot side of the turbo kit. So as you guys know, last week we had a little issue with our double slip fitting and we got a new one in. So I'm able to move this one in freely in and out, I should say. So what I actually had to do is kind of take some of the material on the outside diameter and on the inside diameter. I take some material off, actually quite a bit off. It's probably about, I don't want to say it's about half the thickness of what the original tubing was, maybe a third of it off, I should say. So it's the 2/3 thickness of what it was. But I got it to go in there nice and smooth, I should say. It is still very tight, but it is removable, so that's good. And I probably spent another 30 minutes just with the cuts that we had. I'll go ahead and show you guys that here. So these are all the cuts that we have. And I was able to make all of this work. We actually had to just make one cut, which is this very last one right here. So everything is nice. I believe it's going to go something like, kind of like that. So obviously without that gap. But what I'm going to do is go ahead and tack these up both sides. And then I'll bring them over to the car and then tack them on the car. I'm going to tack them up over here on the vise just for ease of accessibility, I should say. And I have to break up the welding table and stuff like that. But when we go to weld it, I'm actually going to put probably 2 1-inch strips of weld on the car while it's together. That way we can probably put a little bit of heat into it at a time and not really shrink it or cause it to, expand and do what stainless does best. Because if you remember when we did this, I welded all this off of the car, just tacked it on there, 2 or 3 tacks each, and welded it off the car. And it was actually kind of pulled it about 1/4 of an inch, maybe. I would say 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch. Luckily, we were able to trim our little turbo mount back 1/8 to 1/4 inch, and it brought it back over, which was fine. But now we can't do that because this side's going to be fixed, and if we fix it this side, we're going to have no room for it to really move at all. So I've been kind of brushing up on my turbo hot side builds from like Kevin from KSR. I'm watching the Rock Solid Motorsports YouTube channel, just trying to figure out what is the best option to get all this tacked up before I pull it off and actually weld it up. All right, so we got the hot side all in place. Ran a few stitch welds, everything, but as you can see, it's got some pretty cool kind of flow to it. So I'm pretty pleased with it. I do like this little angles and whatnot. I kind of tried to not really mimic it, but kind of give it a nice little sweep. And like I was mentioning before, it is close to the oil drain, but no big deal. That's why we got our heat shield. But I do want to just but point out the welds. And you can really tell that, some of them, obviously we're not looking for perfection because I am no perfectionist with welding. I already know that. But, I mean, they were all really coming out super good. So we were running probably before 60, 65 amps. Oh, that one's ugly, don't pay attention to that. 60, 65 amps before when we did this right here, I believe. Actually, when we did both of these, it was about 60 or 65. This was just different gas. So we had less gas on here, we had more gas coverage on this. You can still, we still had a bunch of coloration, so we still had a bunch of heat into it. But as you can tell, all of these welds, not a single one of them are purple or blue. They're all gray. I mean, there's even some silver ones, which means like very, very minimal heat. So I would say we're doing pretty good. And so far, so good. And yes, I did have it back purged, so there's my little hole. So I don't want you guys hating on me. It was all back purged. And this was just to do a couple stitches on there. That way when I pull the whole hot side off as one piece, I don't want anything to move. So that was the whole point. I was just trying to get everything situated and, tacked up enough to where it's not going to expand or contract entirely too much. We are clearly welding up the rest of the hot side, and I must say, I think we're definitely figuring it out. I'm not saying we're professionals, not saying that, not yet, at least, But yeah, I'm pretty happy with all these welds. I think most of these are actually coming out extremely well. Heat affected zone is, kind of staying within its limits and whatnot. But I don't know. I think we're picking it up, and I think it's starting to look pretty good. What do you guys think? Alright guys, so as you can see, we got the second portion of our hot side all welded up, and it is 100% complete as of right now. Minus the wastegates, obviously, we still got to figure out placement for those and what kind of wastegates we're using. We did have that one VS Racing 50 mil, but now that we kind of got it all finished up, we don't know if we're going to be able to use that just because of how big it is and where we're going to put it. So we were talking about putting it on the turbine of the turbo itself. But yeah, I'm not sure yet. We'll get there when we get there. But as of right now, we got the hot side done, which is a big victory for us, for guys that have never done it. All right, so now we got the hot side down. We're still waiting on the intercooler and the intake manifold to complete the hot side, and then we'll do the blow-off valve and wastegate placement then. But in the meantime, we did get our Dash 16 intercooler feed lines in return. So waiting on some bungs for the tank itself. We got our Davies Craig electric water pump, which you guys already know. So we're just waiting on a few things for that. Obviously the intercooler, and then we can go ahead and start plumbing all that up, and that will be done. So that's gonna wrap up this video, you guys. We got done what we could get done, and actually now we're kind of at a standstill waiting on some parts, so it's gonna be a little bit of a short video this week, but no big deal. We'll be back at it again. We'll find something else to do. But like always, you guys, thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode.